They call him Flipper, faster than lightning. And with Flipper's help, Saturday nights belong to the Dolphins. From the catchiest theme song to a tried and true premise, Flipper had it all. Or so it seemed. But just who was the real Flipper? Why didn't the show's aquatic star get the glamorous end she so much deserved? I'm your host, they call me Nostalgic Nick, here with a world of wonder full of secrets about the beloved series Flipper. If you enjoy our video, be sure to give it a fins up. And don't forget to subscribe so you catch our next deep dive into an ocean of memories. The first Flipper. Before there was Flipper, there was...
It's Flipper, the fabulous dolphin.
Just the year before, in 1963, audiences had seen a film with a very familiar title starring Chuck Connors and Luke Halpin. The movie was set in the Florida Keys and followed a young tween who befriends an injured dolphin. Helming this story was Rico Browning and producer Ivan Tors. Browning thought up the story when his own kids were glued to the TV watching none other than Lassie. And audiences noticed the similarities too. Flipper was even nicknamed Aquatic Lassie, or Lassie with Fins. I mean, yeah, it's a solid premise. So much so that later that same year, producers began working on a sequel film, Flipper's New Adventure. This was alongside the budding television series, all in 1963 and 64, which made it a very busy time for Flipper, who at this point was a bottlenose dolphin named Mitzi. But do not worry, she did have some help. Is Flipper a boy or a girl? If you checked out our Lassie deep dive, you learned that Lassie was actually always played by boy dogs. Check out the video to find out why. But it was the exact opposite for Flipper, most of the time. Our leading leaping dolphin was called a boy but played by girl dolphins. Mitzi credited as premiering the role, and for that, her memorial in Florida's Dolphin Research Center is the first stop on all tours. It's at that very place she was trained. We owe a shout out to Little Bit and Mr. Gipper, the only guy to play Flipper. Then you had Susie, and of course there's Kathy. It's reported that all the dolphins were captured in the wild, with Kathy captured by the trainer Rick O'Barry. But why all females? It was deliberate because females were calmer than the males, making them easier to work with. Not to mention their appearance was better too, as a lot of males had scars and scuffs on their noses from fighting each other. It wouldn't just be a tense environment for the animals, it would also be a continuity nightmare. So casting the majority of ladies helped ensure Flipper's look stayed constant. But we can actually thank Mr. Gipper for the famous tail walk stunt, since the others never really mastered that. Teamwork really makes the Flipper work. As for their lines, none of these dolphin divas had any trouble reading the script, because none of the noises came from them. The dolphin chatter from the show was actually a sped up recording of a kookaburra bird. I guess you can put away your dolphin dictionaries for the day. The Flipper theme.
They call him Flipper, Flipper, faster than lightning.
Anyone else humming the Flipper theme song yet? Don't worry, there's still time. Remember how we'd laugh when Flipper was near? This is yet another great collaboration. William By Dunham penned the lyrics and Henry Vars composed the music. Vars's life could have been a film itself. He's kind of a huge deal, first composing 50 songs in his native Poland, then 60 more in the US. One of those is, of course, the Flipper theme. But before that, he had to fight his way to get here. Literally. Back in Poland, his usual gigs involved composing for musical comedies. But when the Second World War broke out, he joined the army. He was captured by the Germans as a prisoner of war. And on top of that, he was Jewish. So his fate seemed to be sealed until the train transporting him stopped abruptly, just long enough for him to escape. By the late 40s, he made it to America, where his work was compared to Irving Berlin. He rubbed elbows with John Wayne, composed for Doris Day, Bing Crosby, and Brenda Lee. Then he made one of the catchiest show jingles ever. The melody itself takes inspiration from the French song La Romance de Paris, aka Love Song of Paris. As for the long underwater scenes, that music is inspired by Daphnis and Chloe. How fittingly majestic. Flipper was quite the international affair. But I want to know, who remembers that time they tried changing up the music?
Beware of Flipper, Flipper, he's
such a lover.
It was the first few episodes of season 2, made more like a dance tune sung by Frankie Randall. But by episode 5, the original was back, because you just can't beat the classics. Location, location, location. If you've ever wanted to visit Coral Key Park and Marine Preserve, here's how. It's actually a fictional version of Key Largo, Florida's own John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park. For a TV setting, this place has a rich history as America's very first underwater park. By 2004, the park clocked over 1 million visitors, which made it the most popular park in Florida. I like to think Flipper had something to do with that. For the purposes of filming, Flipper was shot on location around Florida, especially Key Biscayne, Greenwich Studios, and the Miami Sea Aquarium's lagoon. Stunning stunts. I think the most hypnotic parts of Flipper were the shots taken underwater. Not only were they majestic, but they required a lot of coordination, expert training, and discipline. A true testament to everyone involved. Fortunately for us and Flipper, the Flipper team had some experience. For one, there's show creator Rico Browning, who had starred in 1954's Creature from the Black Lagoon. And he came up with the fancy title of underwater technician.
What is it, Flipper?
While training the army of dolphins was Rico Barry's job, who also sometimes served as help-in stunt double. But that was pretty rare since Sandy Ricks was pretty set on doing his own stunts, even the shark hunt episode. End of the show. Boy, Flipper had a great time slot Saturday evenings, but so did a lot of other worthy shows like the Jackie Gleason Show over on CBS. But in its first year, Flipper held its own against Jackie. Its next season was even a bigger test, facing off against I Dream of Jeannie and Get Smart. But its more mature NBC neighbors ended up helping Flipper stay afloat. It was such a hit, no one could say no, and Flipper was even broadcast behind the Iron Curtain. Young and old Soviets loved it. The network did have a great lineup, but Jackie Gleason was picking up speed. Its success hit ratings hard. The show was set to change in some big ways, as the child actors were growing out of their roles.
You're leaving? Since when?
I had a long talk with Flipper this morning.
In the end, Ivan Tors had no plans on continuing the show past the original plot, and so NBC canceled it. Is Flipper still alive? When the camera stopped, the many faces of Flipper were jostled to the background. These were trained professionals now, so they were kept in confinement for any future watery adventures that might come up. Most prominently and tragically was Kathy, who was sent to live her days in a small tank at the Miami Seaquarium. And no, she wasn't really happy about this. And while Rick the trainer was visiting one day in 1968, she swam over to him, submerged in the water, and stayed there until she drowned. Is that even possible? Yeah, it is. We can tell when animals are suffering, but can dolphins really take their own lives? Dolphins are the second smartest animals on the planet, just behind humans. They can solve and understand complex situations. So maybe Kathy really knew her life was that tank, and she just kinda lost the will to live. Naturally and thankfully, this shook O'Barry to his core. He felt responsible, having caught the dolphins himself. He went from an animal trainer to an advocate totally against captivity. This was a very big change for him, since a group he worked with was charged with violating an Animal Welfare Act in 1966. It wasn't always smooth sailing. He got a little too into it and released dolphins that weren't actually able to operate in the wild just yet. But he was also awarded and rewarded for exposing dolphin hunting techniques off the coast of Japan. Lasting legacy.
Look, up in the sky. I mean down in the water. It's a sea bass. It's a submarine. It's Flipper.
Even after NBC canceled it, Flipper didn't go anywhere. Thanks to syndication, it stayed playing on Nickelodeon, Discovery Kids, Animal Planet, and Family Channel. It also proved to be a huge cash cow thanks to that magical word, merchandising. You had every toy type imaginable. Coloring books, themed spoons, board games, puzzles, a dolphin toy that squirts water, water, even a glow-in-the-dark watch. TV Land showered it with plenty of nominations too, like Favorite Fauna Award and Favorite Pet-Human Relationship Award. Flipper captured our imaginations, our parents' wallets, and drove a conversation about animal performers in media. I'd say that Aquatic Lassie did good, did real good. Alright, that's enough of me, now it's your turn. What was your favorite misadventure the Ricks got up to with Flipper? What do you remember most about the films or the show? Who had some Flipper merchandise? Get in the comments and tell me all things Flipper. If you enjoyed our deep dive, please give it a thumbs up, it really helps a lot. And make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a memory. But from all of us here at Do You Remember, we want to thank you for watching.